And right here, I've got a little electric piano part played with a mono instance of expand, which we don't typically do, but for this, we'll do it, right? And if you listen to that right now, it should just be coming out of your left ear, okay? Now, I want to make that stereo by using delay. And I've done that now. Okay, so how did I do that? The first thing I did was I added, when you've got it right here, this track here is something called an aux input. So if I do Command-Shift-N, right? When you look here, we've got a bunch, and I'm going to go over this in more detail next week in this class. But for right now, I can make a stereo track, and if I click here, there's something called an aux input. All right? An aux input is a track that audio can play through, not from, but through. So you can like route a signal from another track and have it play through the aux input. So to do that, you use something called a send. That's this column here. So the way that I added this column here was I went over to this area here, clicked on this downward triangle, and I added send, right? And what this does is it allows me all of these slots to send a copy of the audio coming from this track, a copy of the audio coming from this track here to another destination. And that's called busing. And so if you click on one of these slots here in send, you'll see that you've got two options. You can do output here, which is my audio interface, and then you can have bus here. So this is a mono track, so it only has one output, so I'm sending bus 1. And if I click on that, right, you'll see that a little fader comes up. And you can see this fader. This is the bus. That's the output path selector, bus 1. And this is the level. It's just like on a mixing console. So the higher up by 0, it's louder. And these are all negative numbers going down. So let me leave that out for a second. And then if we look here on the aux input, this is a mono aux input. And this top slot here is where you select the actual routing for the input. So I've selected bus 1 as the input for this track. So bus 1, this track, this send is sending audio through bus 1 into bus 1 of this track. And then that audio is being routed through this aux send. And in this aux send, I've put something called mod delay 3. And this is our delay plugin that we're going to use. Okay. And I like this unit. I use it on my final recordings. So let me quickly go over the controls. Let me actually show you how to find this. So I'll take it out, no insert, right? And I've got this all set up for you with these tracks here. So you'll just have to do the bus and insert the proper plugin right in this area here. So I want to put that mono delay in here. So I'm going to go to plugin, and I'm going to go to Avid, or you can go to delay, and I'm going to go to mod delay 3, which is down here, and then that shows up. Let me zoom out a little bit and do that one more time. All right. So I'm going to go right here and insert like you put an instrument track in. You can go to Avid, or alternatively, if you click here, you can go to delay. You'll find it there too. But I'm just going to go to Avid, and it's alphabetical, and you go to mod delay 3 mono. Make sure mono, not mono to stereo. So the controls that you need to know for today, right? The first one on this particular one, I'll actually talk about them as we add them into the assignment. This is the delay time. And you can move it left and right, make it higher and lower. You're going to turn the sync off so it's not synchronized to the tempo because we're not doing that right now. And so you can pull this down and it's 0. And a slap is like, to make that into stereo, I'm going to basically make it about 50 milliseconds, right? And then I'm going to play the track. And it should be in your left ear if you're wearing headphones now and you're hearing this in stereo, which you should be. And then listen as I pull the fader up. So as I pull this fader up, what that's doing is it's increasing the level that of the copy of the audio that's being sent from here into here, right? So this is just a volume control. So when it's down here, this is routed from here to here, but there's no audio being passed from here. It's like you have a cable, but with a volume control on it, but there's no volume. Let's say you've got an electric guitar hooked up, right? You've got the cable hooked up and it's plugged into an amp. The amp is on, but the volume on the guitar is on 0. You could play your guitar, but there's no sound coming out of the amp, even though it's all set up with its routing. What we've got here is a volume control. So if I pull this up, you'll hear the other track coming in. And what I did with the other track was I used the pan control and I panned it to the right. And I've got the original one panned to the left, and that gives us pseudo stereo. Now, just remember something. We're only dealing with right now. When we do MIDI in Audio MIDI 1, we're going to be using MIDI pan. We're not going to be using audio pan. But in this class, we're going to be using audio pan for any kind of audio type thing that we're doing, which is what this is. So I've got the original one panned to the left and the delay panned to the right. Okay? So that's pretty simple. And that's right? That's nice because you could have somebody singing and they're in the middle of the stereo field and they're being surrounded by this beautiful wash, right, of keyboards left and right. Center is free. The voice will fit nicely. We've got a vocal, and this is my friend Joy singing.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high. Never had a mentor, they put their feet where others trod. Now their fingers on the trigger, it could be touching the finger of God.
Okay, so that's beautifully recorded, very close mic'd. You don't hear much room in there. So what you can use echo for is to create space and depth, right? So you can make it sound wider than it does, and you can make it have depth, like it sounds further away than right in your face like that. So I'm going to play the track again, and as I play it, I'm going to start adding effects in. Here we go.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high. Never had a mentor, they put their feet where others trod. Now their fingers on the trigger, it could be touching the finger of God.
What's nice about that is that we've got her unaffected track right in the middle, and then we've got two tracks, mono echo, right, mono delay, one panned in the left and one panned in the right, and it adds a really beautiful, spacious, it makes the sound much wider and thicker as well, because you can hear that it sounds like there's multiple people singing. So one more time with those two off, and then I'll add them in as it plays.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys. They're lifting their wheels high. Never had a mentor. They put their feet where others trod.
So what I did here was, let me get this in the middle here. I've set up these are two mono aux tracks. One is panned to the left and one is panned to the right. And I've got this one, the input of this one set up to bus 2 and bus 3. I've done this for you in the session. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add bus 2, right? So that I can write a copy of this audio to bus 2. And then I'm going to route a copy of this audio also to bus 3, which is what this one is set up for, bus 3. And then I've got this one panned to the left and this one panned to the right. And if we look at this, I've got on this one, I've got a mono delay at 80 milliseconds. Okay. Now, I've started to add something here called feedback. Feedback is the number of echo. So the higher the number, the more echoes there are that follow. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute. And then with this one on the right, I have this one set up to 60. So the one on the left is a little bit later than the one on the right. So let me just do one thing here. So I'm going to mute the center channel and just play the two delayed sides.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild.
And now I'll play the center in.
Motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
Now, what happens if I turn this up to, let's say, 100? I don't want it to be 80 because it'll be the same as the other side. Let's just take a listen to that.
Brooklyn,
right? That's a different sound. 150.
Wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
So you can really hear the different voices then, right? I don't want to do that with this. I want to just add width because I can add those extra echoes here, right? So now I've got bus 2 and bus 3 sent here, and then I've got this one here, which is bus 5 and 6, right? So this is a stereo bus, and this is a stereo aux input. So I'm sending a stereo signal from the mono track into this one, and with this one I've got a stereo delay, and if you'll notice, the left side is set to 187 milliseconds about, and the right to 250. And then I've got feedback. See that on both of these. Okay. And I'm going to talk about something else in a second. So let's see. So we'll listen now with the stereo delay, but not the two left and right delays.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
So I'll mute the direct signal, but just hear the delays. So I don't have that very loud. Now, what I'll do is I'll turn it up a little bit more for now. So I had that at 20. So let's turn it up to 0, and it'll be louder. So you can hear dot, 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 right? There's extra. So if I turn the feedback up, let's say to about 30, 40, and on this one, 50, right? You're going to hear more echoes. Right? That's too much. It's not subtle. I want you to do subtle things. So we're going to turn the feedback down. This was about 20, and this one might be just a little bit a little bit more. That's nice. Now, that's too loud. I'm going to bring it down, and then I'm going to turn back on the other two echoes, but this one and this one, but not the center channel yet.
The young, good-looking and wild.
So the one with the extra echoes is like a nice sheen. It's really cool. So now let me add the center one back in, which is the original track.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
Okay, so if I've got this all set up for you, so you'll just have to do the buses, put in these, and just assign, the right buses. These are all set up and I'll show you that. So don't worry about it. I tried to make this as easy as possible. I know it's a little tricky. If you can get that much with this vocal track, that's a beautiful thing. All right. I might have more written in the assignment, but I'm telling you directly now that if you can just do this much with these 3 different delays, that would be great. Now, you could do other things, right? So you can do something called adding a chorus. So that's this here. And what a chorus does is it plays around with the time and pitch and throws things a little bit out of phase and makes the sound thicker. And so you can add a little bit of that. And so I've got another bus, 7 and 8, right? That's going into the chorus. So let's play this. Let me turn, it's 5 and 6. Hold on. 7 and 8. Okay. So let's open this up and I'm going to really send a lot of signal.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild.
So I'm going to turn up the rate and you'll hear the vibrations more.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boy.
Right. So I don't want that. I'm going to teach this. This will be like next week. I'll get into this one a little bit more, but I'm just showing you like what you can do.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boy.
And then the last thing I did was I inserted into the audio path right here. Let me turn these off. Something called pitch. And I've only added a little bit with the mix on one side. I should add a little on this side. And so one side's going to be a little flat and the other side.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild.
Let me turn it up.
The motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
So it just adds space. It makes the thing sound wide, wide, wide. Now, again, this is very advanced. I'm just showing it to you. I'd be happy if you just got these. I'd even be happy if you just got these 2 delays, the on left and right, and the stereo delay going with this particular bit, if you choose it. If you choose it. So everything together, though, with the voice.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild, the motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high. Never had a mentor, they put their feet where others trod. Now their fingers on the trigger, it could be touching the finger of God.
Okay, great. So that's that. This is from a song of mine called Night Watch. I took this audio file off of that. Before we go, like the thing with the vocal, let me just talk about this one more time. The Beatles, a lot of innovations that we use today the Beatles themselves didn't invent them, but they wanted things to be done, and the engineering staff at Abbey Road had to figure out a way to get it done. So what they used to do in the past was they'd sing a vocal track, and then they'd sing another track over that on another track of the tape machine. Well, they got lazy and they didn't want to do that. So they asked if there was a way that could be done automatically, and they came up with something called ADT, automatic double tracking, which is using a very, very, very tight tape echo to take the original voice and double it. And just they changed the speed of it, the second machine, so it was a little bit out of tune, slightly out of tune, and it would thicken up the sound. What I did with my friend's voice there was sort of like an advanced version of that, right? Because there's many other things happening. So now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to do a little bit of the edge with my keyboard part. So let me play this, and then I'll add the different echoes. So the echoes are in now, and I'm going to turn them off one by one. Now you hear two parts, right? Now you hear a third part coming in. So you hear how it adds 16th note like syncopations. And then finally the third one. Whoops. Okay, so with this one here, right? So this is definitely inspired by the Edge. So I've got 3 delay tracks. I've got one panned to the left, one panned to the center, and one panned to the right. So I've got 3 delay tracks, each one set at a different time. Now you'll notice with this that I've got the tempo here at 104 beats a minute. I've got that preset for you. And so right here, I've got the very first one set up to a half note with a dot, right? So that's going to give me 3 beats till the part comes in. So if you play 1, 2, 3, 4, the part will come in, repeat on beat 3. 1, 2, bump. And then you're playing basically 3, everything's delayed by 3 beats, and you get this sort of rollover as to where the phrase starts. And every time through, it starts a beat earlier in the measure. So, and then I've got the feedback up to about 25%, so you get some extra repeats there. And then the one in the center is a whole note, so it's playing a measure later. And then the one on the right is a dotted 8th note, so it's playing a dotted 8th note later. So we'll do it again, and we will just play it with the delay left, which is a dotted half note. Let me turn that up a little bit. Right, now let me add the center. You see how they're combining together? It's starting to get funky. And now add the right. This is from a song of mine called The Cat's Eye. So I've now made that stereo. Right, so that's just like the first one, except now we're doing it with an audio track. And then additionally, right, I have that pitch thing. Now let me show you this. This we might add in starting next week. But let me just start with it now. So this is a stereo pitch shifter. And so right here, these are the cents. That's a tiny unit of tuning. So it's 2 cents flat minus and 1 cent sharp in the positive direction. And I've got the mix turned all the way up on this, right? So, whoops. So let's see what happens when I add that in. So it's not in, and then I'll click and turn it on. So right now, it's making the rhythm really undistinct, right? Because I turned it up too high. But just a little bit. Just fills out the sound a little bit more. Okay, so if you just get the, make this into stereo, that would be great with this one. Now, this next one is like the guitar player for Elvis, right? We're going to add some slap and we're going to do something a little bit different with this. So let me play this. This is this is from a track I did for National Geographic. I took the guitar off it. Right, so it's country twang, Telecaster bridge pickup. Okay. Now, with this one here, instead of using a send, for this kind of a thing that's going to be on this track, I'm going to use the insert, and I'm going to add some slap, which is that short delay with no feedback. Right? That sort of sounds like that Scotty Moore thing with that sort of two attacks. And the way that you work this here is that right here, you've got a dry and a wet mix. So if I turn this all the way to the left, there's just the dry signal. And now you can really hear it. Completely wet is just the delay, so you don't want to have it there. But I'm finding somewhere in between 35 and 40 works really well. And I've done something similar to this side, except I've got this one at 90 milliseconds. So if I've got two of these, I don't want them to be at the same. So that sounds cool. And when you add the two of them together, it really gives you the flavor of that old school tape slap delay. Now, this next one's a little tricky. If you're just only an audio MIDI one, you might not want to do this. But if you're Claudia or Lucas or Andrew, you might try to do this. So I've got a hi-hat here. Let me turn this up. This is my friend Eric Valentine playing. It's on my track, Mixed Emotions. It's the intro. Now I'm going to turn the echo on, and we're going to do something like the Police did, where the echo only comes in sometimes, and it sort of creates a little bit of havoc. So let's take a listen. Okay, here we go. Right, so the thing starts off with no echo, and then right here you could see where the echo comes in. So let me show you how I did this. Right here, we've got waveform view, which is what you're typically going to see. But remember, in Pro Tools, where you've got a triangle, that means that there's more of a menu underneath there. So if I click on this, you could see this is send a bus 17 and 18, right? So I've got bus 17 and 18 going into this track here, this AUX track, and then I've got my mod delay in there. So if I click on this here, it lets me have a level, and I can automate the level. Now, like I said, this is a little bit more advanced. So those of you that are doing Audio MIDI 1 in this semester, you might not try this, but if you feel adventurous, please do. You'll see that the level is down until you get to here, and then the level goes up and the echo will come in. So basically it's automating this. And you'll see that moving as it plays. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Now, what I've done here is I want to get that sort of a lot of stuff happening. So I've turned the feedback up quite a bit. And I'm not using a tempo here. I'm fine tuning this to get the sound I want. I'm just playing around with the numbers here. And I want each side to be a little bit different. I'll go over this more in a second, but let me play you the next little bit here where I've just got it coming in for selective moments. Now, you'll notice that here, the echo keeps playing even after the volume here goes back down. Right? That's because the audio has been sent and the echo is happening. You're not turning the echo down. You're turning down the amount of audio you're sending into here so that this is still being echoed because I've got this set up with all this feedback. Right, so that's giving me much, much more return. Okay, so that's like the police thing. So let's take a look at a little bit more here. And let me do this, actually. Okay, so this is just going to loop, right? And I've got this set up so that we're going to get quite a bit of echo. So I'm going to turn off the left, right? So I clicked on dry here and turn off the right. So we're only going to hear echo out of the left. Right? So if I turn this up more, it's a different feel. That's like a slap. That's giving me something interesting. It's not right in the groove. Right, so if I wanted to synchronize that and make like a dotted eighth note rhythm, that's one thing. You know, that's interesting. That works. That's cool. But if I wanted to just not synchronize it and just, that was at 326 for that. 326 is a dotted eighth note. So if I make this 300, I can also just type in 326, whoops, 326. I get the same idea. But what if I just take that and make that a little bit more than that, so like 360? Then the delay is out of sync. And you get a kind of a different, cool, spacier feel. And if I turn the feedback down, oh, whoops, hold on a second. Put the feedback at 0. It's just playing it once. It's echoing it once. Let's say I do a feedback of 20%. There's a few feedbacks, a few echoes. If I turn it up to about 40, that's kind of cool because you hear when he opens up the hi-hat, you get the shh, it almost sounds like reggae dub music. It's really cool. So that's one side, right? And then I'm going to make that dry and then turn on the other side. And this one's almost, it's not quite twice as long as this side, right? And I've got more feedback. it does sound like it's more in the groove. So now if I add the other side back in, so I've got it set now to be at 0 dB, which is like, that's the actual same level as what's coming out of here. If I go here, right, and it says send bus 1718, that's this here, level, you get this right here. If I go all the way back to the beginning, right, I can use my grabber tool and just bring it down like that, and then it's 0. The problem with that is that you've put an automation point there. So if I go up here like this, I can get it up to 0 with a key command. So if I option click on that, it goes to 0, but you really have to drag it down here. Unless you can make this down to 0 here, but then that becomes an automation point. And if you lift the slider up, when you start playing it, it'll come back down. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I've got this up here at 0, right? And this is up here. So I'm going to use my grabber tool and move this back down to 0. And I'm going to lift this up to, move that back down all the way off. I'm going to lift this up. Oh, it didn't do it. Oh, great. So that you'd have to go all the way back to the beginning of the session then. I would just grab it here. That's really the way I work it. There is a way to view this with like a tiny fader and a couple of pan knobs, but that gets really confusing. I'm trying to keep things, this is really confusing stuff. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, the next bit we're going to do is we're going to do the Brian May thing where we're playing. Yes. This whole bit will be up on YouTube with timestamps. Okay, so I've got this violin right here. Hold on a second. Oh, I see. Give me 1 second here. Okay, let me play that again. So this is my friend Ralph Farris, who used to play in The Lion King, and now he plays in this group called Ethel, and this is from a song of mine called The Dream. Okay, so I recorded this on my Upper West Side apartment when I was living there. And it's very dry, very close mic'd. And so I want to add now you hear that? It's like what Brian May did where he had the second melody coming back in. Right? And so the trick with this is to find out the amount. A little more. So I did this right by ear. So I've got the delay time set up here and some feedback. So what happens if I make this, let's say that's at 372, so I can reset it. So let's make that 700. You see, with what he's playing, it becomes a little bit too washed. But so it's like a little ghost that follows him. Now, when I recorded this guy, I mic'd him with two microphones. The top one is with a Neumann 103, and the bottom one is with an SE Electronics 60. Is it a 6800 or something like that? It's a tube mic, and this is solid state. So listen to this one. It's got a little bit of a warmer sound. And add the echo. So that one's a little bit longer, but because of the way this is recorded, it sounds better, right? For some reason. So the way I've also got this set up is the first violin is panned a little bit to the left. The second violin is panned a little bit to the right. And my mono delay, one is set up all the way to the right and the other one is set up all the way to the left. So let's listen to all that combined together. So that's really cool, right? But what we can also do, and is I've taken one of those AUX tracks and I've got this set up for you guys. And I've routed these two violin tracks here, right? Come on, my friend. I'm starting to get a little burnt out from all this talking. I've routed the output of these two so that it's coming into the violin master. So you'll see when I start playing these, they'll be level coming out of here. Right? So on each one of these individual tracks, I've got a mono delay panned to the opposite side that the track is panned to. But on this master track, I've got two stereo effects. They're both different delays. So this is the stereo delay. I've got one delay and I've got a reverb. So I've got this stereo delay set up here, right? So this is even more confusion. They're not exactly the same as the other two delays. So you're getting even more, and it's just more random effect. Actually, I'm sorry. I have this synchronized and it's set up with a quarter note on one side and a dotted quarter note on the other side. And that kind of gives you a little bit that Brian May effect where he's, where it's one in line, but you're hearing counterpoint almost. And then the last thing is that I bathe that in some reverb, which I'll show. You don't have to worry about that. But as far as this one goes, right? And I know what I've written. If you could just get this set up where each one of these has its own delay, panned left and right, that's great. You know, maybe for the next week we can do some of these other things for those of you that are going to choose this. And now it sounds like he's in a cathedral. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, let me close out this session. Now, this is the one that I've got set up for you. And you're going to have to put your initials on this, all right? You're going to have to add your initials to this. So if we open up EP1, right? You see the way I've got this set up here. I've got all the inputs for the bus set up for you already. So all you have to do is go here. This says bus 1. Go right here, add bus 1, and our little fader comes up right here. And then go into the delay here. Click on this and go to Avid or delay. And then we're going to do mod delay 3, which is right here. You won't have all these. I just have tons of plugins. And make sure you do a mono mod delay 3, okay? Mono, as in mono a mono. And then you're going to bring the volume up to 0. Or you could also just option click on that and it pops up to 0. And you're going to play it. Now, what you're going to hear now is sort of out. It's not, the delay is going to be very noticeable. Bum. You don't want to hear 2 attacks. So you want to reduce the delay time, and you can double click. Oops, hold on a sec. You can double click in here, and maybe let's try 60 and see what that sounds like. That sounds pretty good. What happens if I make it 30? So what I'm hearing now in my headphones here. No, it's 6:41. We're going to end in about 10 minutes. This is how we've done this. Claudia, we've been ending. I see, Claudia, your classes last semester were 1 hour because those were just sort of private lessons. No, I taught film scoring was the same this length last semester. No. And also, before I saw you last semester, I had Adrian for an hour before that. So, okay. But this is better than last Thursday, because last Thursday, by the time I got to this point in the class, my voice was giving out on me. It's starting to go now, but I think I can make it another 10 minutes. All right. So what I'm hearing at 30 milliseconds is that it's not as stereo. It's collapsed in a little bit in my headphones. And that's why it's really good to do this with earbuds on. So I'm going to go back up. Let's see if let me try 90 and see what that sounds like. See, you're starting to hear 2 attacks. Bene. And that's not bad, but I want to just keep the width, because it's definitely sounding wide, but try to make it so that the 2 attacks are not as noticeable. So this is what you'll do, and you'll just play around with that, okay? No feedback on this one. All right. And then you can just close the folder. And then let's open up the Brooklyn folder and
Brooklyn.
All right, so on this one, again, I've got this set up for you with our inputs, bus 2 and bus 3. So we're just going to go right here, and we're going to put bus 2, and right here, and we're going to put bus 3. And then each one of these, we're going to put a mono mod delay 3. And another thing you can do that's kind of cool is that you can hold the option key down, click, and drag. Option key down, click, and drag, and it puts it in there. And that's a different one. And then you can do this bus 4, I believe. No, I've got this wrong. So this should be bus 2. So you got to just double check yourself. Bus 3. Okay, so now, again, we're going to do close, slappy delays, And I've got them already panned for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So I've tried to make this is complicated stuff, but I've tried to take some of the guesswork out of it and make it as easy for you as I can. But you do have to do a little bit of work. Okay, so let's move this here. Great. So we're going to have, oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm starting to get burnt out. I made a mistake. Forgive me. I apologize. Right here, you're going to have bus 3. So in this slot, you're going to have bus 2 and bus 3. And if bus 7 and 8 is in there, just remove it. No send. Maybe I'll redo that. Anyway, okay. So now we're going to be able to send a copy of this audio through bus 2 and bus 3 into these 2 tracks. We've got our mod delay set up. So let's open up bus 2 and we'll bring up the level all the way up to 0 again. And we'll open this up. And again, remember it was like somewhere around 70. So let's actually try 60. Let's try 60.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild.
Great. So I'm just going to bring the level down a little bit.
Brooklyn, the young, good-looking and wild.
I'm going to fine-tune that.
The motorcycle boy.
Great. And then I'm going to mute this one. And you can do it one of 2 ways. You can command click on that and it will mute. And then I'm going to open up bus 3. And then this one I want to have at a different level. So that other one was 60. So let's make this one 75. Okay. And let's get this full up. Nice. And I'll bring it down so it's balanced.
Young, good looking and wild.
And then I'm going to turn bus, command click on bus 2 again. And we should have a nice.
Brooklyn,
so you want to make.
Young,
that's really nice.
The motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
Now, the next thing you can do is you can go, if you want to, that'd be fine for next week. All right. But if you want to be more adventurous, you can add in, this is a stereo delay, right? So you want to go into Avid and add mod delay stereo right here. And with this one, we're going to play around with this a little bit. We're going to turn the feedback up a little bit so there's extra echoes, right? So maybe 20 on one side and maybe 30 on the other side. And then we're going to have these be a little bit longer. So that was 60 and 80, something like that. So let's try 90 and maybe 130. I'm just guessing. I might change these after I listen to it and see what it sounds like. You know what I mean? And this is bus 5 and 6. I'm looking at it right here. So I'll go right here and I'll add bus 5 and 6. And then play this back.
Brooklyn,
bring up the fader.
The young, good looking and wild. The motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high.
Well, that's nice. But I think I want to try longer delay time, right? So let's make this one maybe 150. And I'm just experimenting, right? It's very easy to play around. Maybe this will be 220, right? Now let's listen to this.
Brooklyn, the young, good looking and wild.
That's more of what I want. You can hear that there's that big echo like you're in a cavern, but now I'm going to bring the level down because it's too loud. And this is another tip. To play it and stop it with the space bar and then listen to the effect afterwards.
Brooklyn, the young, good looking and wild. The motorcycle boys, they're lifting their wheels high. Never had a mentor. They put their feet where others trod.
So look, let me just tell you one more thing and take a note on this. When you get to Brooklyn, if there's a send 7 and 8, you can leave it in there, but just mute the chorus right here. Just mute that by clicking on the M. All right, let's do one more of these. Let's do the dream piano. Right, let's open that up. Let's go over to the dream piano, Celeste. Okay, so this one I've got set up for bus 11, 12, and 13. So I'm going to add into my track here bus 11 and right below it bus 12. And I usually name the buses, but we're one thing at a time, and bus 13. Okay, great. So remember, I gave you the rhythmic values for this one. It's on the PDF. Right? Dotted half note on the left, half note, a whole note in the center, and dotted eighth note on the right. That's the way this is. So I put that in there for you. Okay, so right here, I'm going to put in my mod delay 3, and then hold down Option, click and drag. Hold down Option, click and drag. Very quick, very easy. And so this one is going to be a dotted whole note. Oh no, a dotted half note. Well, I can't remember what it was. Dotted half note, whole note, and dotted eighth note. So dotted half note, because I have the tempo for this one here. Okay. And this one is a whole note. And then this one here is a dotted eighth note. Make sure that the sync is on. And then I'm going to just start playing around with this. Bus 11, I'm going to turn this up. Oh, no, we're going to not at Brooklyn, sorry. So now you can hear it. So remember, with this one here, it's a dotted half note. So it takes a second for the echoes to start playing. And then maybe bring up the feedback a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I've got that up at around 40, 45%. Let's mute that one. So I'm just going to mute that right here. I've got that at a good level that I like. And now I'm going to do bus 12 and 13, and I'm going to click and we'll see this one here. And this is a whole note, so that means it'll happen a bar after it plays. So let's just play this. I like that. A little feedback. Maybe not as much as the other one. Nice. So I've got that around 30. Let's listen to the two of those together. So cool, right? Okay, I'm going to mute these two. And then now let's do this one here, which is a dotted eighth note. And we're going to go to bus 13 fader. And we're going to turn the feedback up on this one even less, because this is going to happen more often. Nice. And then unmute these other two. And boom. Yes. So the feedback, Daniel, is the number of echoes. So let me see. Can I do this? Hold on one sec. Okay, yeah, I can do this. Give me one sec. I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste this right there. All right, so this is just one note. Let me just mute all of these for now. These two here. And let's look at this one here. And I'm I'm going to turn the feedback off to 0. I'm sorry. So this is going to play back 3 beats after at the tempo after the sound happens. So you'll hear it once and then you'll hear it twice. See that? Let me turn that up a little bit more. All right, one more time. Oh, I have negative feedback. Let's get to 0. Here we go. That's it. It just repeats once. If I turn the feedback up, you'll hear more echoes. The delay time, Daniel. Right here, delay time. This is set up so that. So let's make this. So right now I've got this set for a dotted half note. So at the tempo of 104 beats per minute, you don't have to worry about the math. This is 1730.8 milliseconds is the same value as this time-wise. So if I change this to eighth note, it'll come in quicker. So if I play this now, let me turn this up so you can really hear it. Right, so if I turn the feedback up more, it plays back more. If I turn the feedback down to 0, it'll only play once. Here we go. So you bad up. If I bring the feedback up to 50, play it. It keeps going. All right. Okay. So that's quite a bit for today. But in that last bit that I just showed you, I've done a lot of the routing, setting that up for you. So you should really not have as much trouble as it initially seems. You just have to set your buses up, instantiate the plugin, and then figure out the send and the note values. I've got everything panned for you. So I've done a lot of the setup for you. And like I said, I've got in the PDF everything written. But like in the vocal chain, if you could just get the 2 left and right delay going, that would be great. If you want to add the third stereo delay, that would be great. And then maybe next week we can add the pitch to it. And so, yeah, you can simplify these things. I want to see that you understand the concept. Now, what you're going to do when you're done, one last thing. So I'm going to close this for now. I'm not going to save what I've done so that I can keep this the way it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to just add your initials to the end of this, just like that. And then you're going to right click and you're going to compress this. You have to compress this entire folder. Do not send me this. All right. I'll be going over this in Audio MIDI 1. Those of you that have had more than one class with me, this only sends me the information that's in the session. It doesn't send, it needs to access the assets that are found in this audio file folder. Okay. So, in other words, this package, the complete package has to be sent to me. So that's this is called the session folder, right? And then this is the session file. You want to take the session folder, right click, and send that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a separate little video sometime over the next couple of days, and I'm going to email it to all of you, a short video reminding you how to do that. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I'm a little fried at this point. I've been talking for almost 2 hours and 20 minutes straight, and I started getting a little confused there with a few things. But hopefully it was fairly straightforward, and hopefully you enjoyed the introduction with the history. So the history thing, I'm going to edit that out, and I'm going to pop that up onto our OneDrive, And then from where the assignment starts going forward, that's going to be up on YouTube on our class page. All right. So this is the first part of this is due next week. I will give you feedback by Thursday, probably. Should be able to get you feedback by Thursday of next week if you get it into me by Tuesday. Now, in advance, while I've got you guys here, I believe the 21st of February is a Monday schedule. Tuesday's a Monday at Queens College. Okay, so you want to double check that, so we will not have class on the 21st. And then there's also going to be March 14th, there's not going to be a class. I'm going to make a video for you. I'm going to be traveling on that date. I won't be available. I'll make a video class and you'll watch that, and there'll be an assignment probably, most likely. We'll see where we are at that point. Okay, so this stuff to add it into your music, that'll be the trick. So we're just learning a couple technical things for the first few weeks of class. And then we're going to hopefully be writing music and adding some of these techniques into our music. And we're going to also be exploring musical forms and how to expand upon your knowledge of musical forms and how to use technology inside the computer to help you generate new music for yourself and to grow as a musician. The stuff like Claudia took digital recording at Comp 1 last semester, and she did stuff that she'd never probably thought she'd be able to do before during the functioning of the semester. Okay, so I will see most of you on Tuesday and Thursday, and the rest of you next Tuesday. You guys have a great week, and I will catch you later. Thank you for being here.
Bye, Professor. It's all because of you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.